It's Senator Sherrod Brown on the line with us. He is also the chair of the Subcommittee on Economic Policy. Senator Brown, welcome back to our program.
Glad to be back, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you. Last night, John King on CNN was saying that the Republicans succeeded in knocking down this bill because it has too many loopholes in it, this legislation in the Banking Committee, and that the Republicans are trying to tighten it up and get rid of the loopholes. Meanwhile, you and every other senator in the United States Senate got a letter from the Chamber of Commerce asking you to reject the bill, and it seems to me that the Republicans are pitching this as, well, we're going to stretch this out and make it bigger, and no matter whether it gets worse or better, this bill, the Republicans are going to claim credit for it. I'm curious your thoughts on the political equation here and what the outcome is going to be of this Republican obstruction.
Well, watching them last night was these acrobatic mental contortions that I may have never seen. They were that outrageous last night. I think here's the story, Tom, is that back in December, John Boehner, the Republican leader, who happens to be from my state of Ohio, had a meeting with 100 bank lobbyists on how to slow down and kill the bill. Then just 2 or 3 weeks ago, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, with John Cornyn, the Republican head of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee, went to New York and met with 25 hedge fund and other Wall Street executives on how to slow down and kill the bill. This is all about delay. It's all about trying to kill the bill. They're saying there are loopholes in the bill. They want loopholes in the bill. This bill would be stronger if they'd be more cooperative. And all we're asking is let the bill come to the floor today or tonight when we vote on it, and then let anybody offer any amendments they want to offer. One of the things I want to do is, with Senator Kaufman of Delaware and several others, is to make sure that we keep the banks from getting too big. Too big to fail means too big, and we've got to strengthen this bill. But it's a good bill to start with, and the Republicans don't want any bill, and that's why they continue these delays.
Yeah, we have 6 banks now representing 63% of our GDP. I'd say they're already too big to fail.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's a very interesting statistic. The biggest 6 banks 15 years ago represented a pretty healthy part of the GDP, 17%. But today, as you point out, Tom, it's 60. The 6 largest banks' assets combined are 63% of GDP, and that's just asking for problems a year, 5 years, 10 years from now. It gives one small group of companies, huge, humongous companies, but a small group of companies, incredible economic power over all of us, and that kind of behavior got us into this situation.
The solution to that, however, we're talking with Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. The solution to that, it seems, would be, it has been done in the past by presidents without action from Congress. The Nixon administration initiated the breakup of AT&T. Jimmy Carter presided over it. The first Roosevelt administration, Teddy Roosevelt, broke Standard Oil into either 27 or 32 companies. I forget how many, and in both cases, net shareholder value increased over time. Innovation increased. There was a stimulative effect to the economy. Why not simply lobby the Obama administration to enforce the Sherman Antitrust Act?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that's a long process. It's a good process, and I would like to see them actively engaged in it, and I think that's a very good idea that we should do that. But I also don't want to wait that long until that whole process works its way out in court, because it could be over 2 or 3 or 4 years. It's something that makes sense. But right now we have the opportunity to do this. And you're right. What you said is making these banks smaller. And we're not turning them into community banks in Apple Creek or in Caldwell, Ohio. We're turning them into they're still very large national banks, but it would make them more innovative and more competitive. They preach competition. The conservatives preach American competition is the greatest thing, and it does. And competition does produce great innovation, lower prices, better services, all of that. And why shouldn't we have more of it instead of less of it? But in the last 15 years, as you pointed out, what we've seen with the size of these banks and the concentration of capital has made them less innovative, except innovative in ways to make money for them at the expense of the middle class.
How do you, Senator Sherrod Brown, how do you respond to those constituents of yours from Ohio and Americans, right across the board, who are increasingly expressing cynicism about government, whether it's they're looking at the Citizens United Supreme Court decision and saying, okay, the game is over. The Chamber of Commerce now runs the show, as Thomas Donahue has essentially asserted that he has the power to make or destroy any senator or congressman now, or that even some people suggesting it's always been this way. That this legislation, that the bill, the Dodd bill right now is still not even going to take us back to where we were in 1999, much less undo the damage of 30 years of Reaganomics. How do you respond to that?
Well, wealthy interest groups, of course, have too much power. They always have in this system. They have more today, probably, than they did 15 years ago. Certainly, but it doesn't mean you give up, and it means that you take these interest groups on. We mostly beat the interest groups, the Thom Donahue crowd, with the health care bill. They didn't want the Lilly Ledbetter bill. They weren't wild about the children's health insurance bill, and they're not going to like what we're going to do this week. So I think we win victories. We never win the war entirely, but this government is too much interested in preserving privilege for the wealthiest people in our country. But they don't win every time, and our side's winning more in the last year than we've won in a long time, and I think we're going to continue to. So it's a question on this banking bill to get it to the floor and override the concerns of Mitch McConnell that he just wants to delay in the Chamber of Commerce and their allies, and bring it to the floor and improve the bill.
It seems last question here, Senator Brown, it seems that the biggest challenge that we're facing, progressives, Democrats, independent Americans who simply want a government that's responsive to the people and not the transnational corporations, is directly challenging not just that corporate power, but challenging the Republican choir in Congress in particular, and the giant machine of everything from right-wing talk radio to mainstream news that doesn't challenge their lies when they go on these programs, that is spinning absolutely everything in a Frank Luntz fashion. I mean, you had Mitch McConnell going out, reciting a Frank Luntz talking point that was written before the bill had even started to be being written.
Well, yeah. The wealthiest interest groups in our country can find all the water boys and water girls they want. They can find all kinds of people to carry their water for them, and whether they're lawyers, whether they're politicians, whether they're accountants, whether they're bankers, whatever, and that's what they do. But you can also see when we take them on, we're winning some of these. And when you throw a rock at a pack of dogs, the one that yelps is the one you hit. And you can hear Mitch McConnell, and you can hear some of these interest groups here yelping pretty loud as we win these battles.
I love the metaphor. Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, the chair of the Subcommittee on Economic Policy. Senator Brown, thanks so much for dropping by.
Thanks for the good show you do. Thank you.
Great talking with you.